Well, hello, hello. Welcome back to the In Sync Marriage Podcast. My name is Sami.
Welcome. And my name is Tosin. Welcome.
Welcome, welcome. So, we're
Today,
gonna
what are we
be
talking about, babes?
yeah, we're peeling the curtains back a little bit into an earlier part in our marriage, an earlier
We're
chapter,
peeling back the curtains more than we did in episode two.
more than we did in episode two.
OMG.
Yes, yes. And then what? You asked me what topic we're talking
What are
about
we talking
today.
about? Yeah, I think we decided it's time to go deeper.
Woo! Today we're gonna be talking about infidelities and reconciliation.
Infidelities
Yeah.
and reconciliation.
Yes.
Okay, that's a deep one.
That is.
We have our own take based off of our experience in our marriage.
Mm,
But by all means, I think it's very important for us to say that you don't necessarily have to feel compelled to follow our path in anything that we tell you. We're just sharing based off of our experience in the last 20 years, and it is going to be 20 years this year in 2025.
mm.
Um, what has brought us this far, how we've been able to stay friends, how we've been able to stay in love, how we've been able to stay relevant to each other despite the ups and downs that we've had. One of which was, yes, infidelity.
Whew. It's a pretty heavy one, especially since it's something that a lot of couples have experienced
Yeah.
or at some point may experience. So we feel the need to not only share but to offer some things that we've been through personally, and we can actually dive into it, and hopefully we all get to the point where we realize that this is just not, it's not as unique as we think it may be.
Yeah,
And as much as we don't endorse infidelities,
absolutely.
it is something that some people may have to deal with at some point. So,
So the big thing with infidelity, I think, I know that there's, oh man, I probably should have written this down. I will probably plug it on the screen somewhere. If not, it'll be in the description for you. But there is a Bible passage I know about divorce that talks about it's okay to divorce if there is infidelity in the marriage. Again, I'm talking about infidelity in marriage. We're not talking about infidelity while you're dating. That's a whole
right.
different thing. That's up to you. I have my personal opinion about that, but that's up to you. But with marriage, this is a commitment that you've made. This is a commitment that we've made with God. And this is something that is supposed to be lifelong. So a decision to separate based on infidelity needs to not just be based off of your emotions. It needs to really be that there's more to it that you cannot stomach. It has really broken a value system, broken a pillar in your marriage that cannot be rebuilt
Mm.
before you actually separate. So yes, I know it's an unpopular opinion, and most people might be like, yeah, easy for you to say, but yes, actually not that easy for me to say, because the first 3 years of our marriage,
Right.
within the
I
first
was
3 years of
I
our
was
marriage.
just about to say, why don't we just give a little synopsis, right? So that there's a little bit of a background and an understanding of what we're talking about before we start talking about
Do
the
you want to share?
reconciliation and the path. Um,
You want to tell or I tell?
you can tell. You
Oh
can
my
tell.
days,
Feel
why
free
I
to tell.
gotta be one
Just a
thing?
quick synopsis.
Quick synopsis. All right.
Yeah.
Y'all know that we I guess got married when we were a little young. We were in college at the time when we got married.
Right.
And within the first year of our marriage, we decided to go to different colleges because of our majors. Based off of our majors that we were taking, a different school, I guess, had the major. So Sami.
You say like the Americans say it.
So yeah, people call him Sammy. So sometimes it comes out of my mouth. Anyways, Sammy had to go to school in a different state. And we both moved into dorms, moved into the colleges. And in that season, we were married but living like college students.
Right.
That is
We were college students.
yeah, it's a unique dynamic for some people. But that was what we found ourselves in. And we were going to manage it as best as we could until we couldn't anymore. I graduated a year before Sami did. So I was back in Dallas working as a nurse, and he had his last year in college. And in that season, I got a call from a friend who revealed to me that somebody had actually been cheating on me. And in that season, it was a whole drama. The story is not, today is not for story, but I caught him red-handed in the act, meaning I actually called him out on it, and he couldn't deny it, and there was so much proof. And
I was gonna say, be
immediately,
careful when you say in
no,
the
no,
act.
no.
Like what, in the act? What act?
You were at the act was cheating. Like there was proof. I
Okay.
caught you in the act.
Yes.
Not the kind of act y'all are thinking. Yeah. Anyways, with that being said, in that it was hard. It was very hard. There was a lot of pain. There was a lot of tears. There was a lot of anger. By the way, we were in the middle of planning our big wedding. Remember how we told you my dad made us sign a contract to make sure that we had a big wedding when we graduate? Well, this was the final year of college for him, and I had graduated. So our next step to check off that final piece on the list was
What's the
to
big wedding?
give them that wedding. So we were in the middle of planning the wedding. The invitations were already out. And I find this out. And now I have to decide, do I stay or do I go? My immediate reaction was to go,
Right.
was to be done. I remember calling one of my girlfriends and asking if she knew a divorce lawyer, because I was like, I can't. Like, the world expects me to leave. That is the expectation. And I could prove it biblically that I could leave him without any problem. There were no kids involved.
Because
So
I've
there
done I've
was
done the one thing that the Bible says you can leave for.
the one thing. And again, there was no kids. So there was not a lot of baggage that would hold me to the marriage. This was my time to walk away. However, somewhere in my heart, I resented him and I was upset that he would put me in a position to walk away from him even though I wasn't ready. The deep truth was, the way I love Sami, the way I've always loved Sami, it was not Sami's choice. He didn't choose for me to love him. I chose to love him. And in that moment, I loved him. And I wanted to spend the rest of my life with him. It wasn't his choice to take that away from me. That was how I truly felt inside of me. And so we took some time. And what happened next, babe?
A lot of time.
What happened next?
A lot
for
of
you?
time.
What happened next?
I think for me, the first thing is the realization of the hurt that I'd created, right? I don't think in that entire piece, I ever got to the point where I took a step back. I think selfishness is at the root of most of the sins that we commit, right? And I think in that season for me, it was me.
Yeah, thinking about yourself.
Everything was about me.
Yeah.
What am I getting? I'm about to get out of school. I'm gonna go get married. Let me.
You were married already, bro.
so,
What you talking about?
Yeah, I'm about to make it official.
The whole world's
The
really
whole
about
world's
to know
gonna,
now.
yeah. And I think the lapse of judgment in that. Let me be free. You know,
You were trying to do
in
sow
hindsight,
your wild oats,
right? In
grow your
hindsight,
oats
it's
in the
actually
last
quite
year.
it's actually quite stupid.
Yeah, you were.
But it was selfish. It was selfish in that it was just thinking about self and not you as my partner, right? And I think that the first thing is realizing that, first of all. And then the next step is, how do I get you to understand? How do I get you to realize that I'm truly sorry about what has happened, right? And that was a journey.
It was. So
Yeah.
one of the questions I think people have asked us over the years, the people we've shared this with have asked is, were you truly sorry that you hurt me in that way? Or were you sorry because I found out?
Both.
Okay.
Honestly, I think talking about infidelity and some of the couples that we've talked to as well, counseled, you'd realize it's two things happening at the same time. And two things can be right in the same
They can
situation,
both be
right?
true at the same time,
The
yes.
idea that, oh, he's only sorry because he got caught. Yeah, he got caught because God wanted to expose him,
Mhm.
right? Now, what he does with that is a completely different thing.
Mm.
I think that I was sorry because I got caught, yes. And getting caught made me realize how stupid my act has been and how selfish it had been, and that I needed to do something about it. I had a problem. It wasn't a you problem, right? It was a problem that I had that wasn't highlighted and needed to be exposed in that way.
Yeah.
If it never got exposed, truly, you're right. I may have never seen the light.
That's true. I feel like a lot of us come into relationship or marriage with traumas and wounds that we did not heal or address when we were single. One of which, with a lot of young men, and I think in the case of Sami, was when you're dating, if you're a casual dater, and you're not doing it the God way, where you are comfortable dating multiple girls, talking to multiple girls, and this is the dynamic of your way of handling relationships. You have a girlfriend, but you're talking to another girl. You have a boyfriend, but you're talking to five other guys at the same time. That switch just doesn't turn off when you get married. It doesn't just all of a sudden now become, oh, I can be monogamous. You're right.
Yeah.
Now, if you never address this wound, good luck. It's most likely going to come out as adultery in your marriage.
Absolutely.
My prayer is that you can address it early enough and still find reconciliation without hurting anybody, and be able to grow from there, mature from there. But what we did find in our situation was that a lot of our flirtatious, like I used to be the flirt. That was my thing. I would flirt, get as close as possible without causing too much harm, and then back off. And that was dangerous. And if that's your style, girl,
cut it out. Cut it out. And to Tosin's point, I think that conversation about not realizing or not understanding the depth of how far you can go as a person is key. We need to understand ourselves. We need to know our flaws, right? The same thing goes for things like pornography, especially in young men and young women as well too. The idea that, okay, I'm single, I can watch pornography and masturbate and all of that stuff, and once I get married,
it'll
I'm
go
gonna
away.
be just fine.
My
and,
husband will replace that.
Right.
My wife will replace it.
And the truth is,
you're right.
it doesn't happen that way, right? The enemy has come to kill, to steal, and to
And
destroy,
destroy, yeah.
right? He plants these things in our lives to where you now 10 years, 15 years into marriage, and you're still dealing with the same pornography. You're still dealing with the same
Infidelity issues,
and
adultery
lust
issues,
and things like
lust
that.
and all, yeah.
So yeah,
These things are spirits, right? Let's be real. They're
absolutely.
spirits. Lust is a spirit.
Yes.
Pornography is a spirit.
Yes.
Distraction is a spirit. Resentment is a spirit. Unforgiveness is a
Selfishness.
spirit. Selfishness is a spirit. They're all spirits. When the Bible says that who we're wrestling not against flesh and blood, we're principalities and powers above all that, you can never even imagine. It's no joke. That's what it's talking about. And if you don't address these spirits, like literally cast them out, deal with them, get rid of them, they're going to always, you can't, our pastor always says something. The devil, he's an interesting guest. He's not the kind of guest that you would invite and tell to just
live in your living room.
Just hang out in my living room. You're not allowed in the bedroom. No, the moment he gets into your house, he's free. You've given him free reign. He's going to reign all over your home.
It can touch your children. It can touch your
anybody.
home. It can be in the kitchen,
Nothing
the
is
bathroom.
off limits for him.
Yeah.
So one of the things I do want to point out is that remember when we first started dating, Sami wasn't a born again Christian.
True.
That was not something he would define himself out.
Yeah,
I think I want you to talk about how you transitioned from that and how that impacted the next steps for us after the infidelity.
Big time. Big time. I think prior to the infidelity situation, I would have called myself a Christian, but we all know what that means.
There are different levels.
Yeah, there's levels, right? Everybody says they're Christian. You come, even if you were born into a Christian background or children of pastors, we all say we're Christians, but the truth was, I'd never really fully surrendered my life to Christ. I think that it's funny how God kind of worked things and moved things around. That incident was what highlighted to me how far or how deep in sin I was.
Yeah. Right.
And that I needed to make a call to turn back. Right. So while I was trying to reconcile with you, I was also led to Christ at the same time. Yeah. Right. And that journey is what's brought us this far today. Absolutely. That's what's led to pastoring. That's what led to youth ministry. Absolutely. And teaching and all of those things. Right. Absolutely. So, on one end, It's like, oh man, I can't believe that happened. But on the other side, it's like, I'm glad it happened, right? Because that's what turned the table
The
around
one
for me,
thing that was
right?
supposed to break us actually ended up being what made us,
Yes,
to be
yes,
honest, because up until that, I had never even focused on his spiritual life. I had never really cared about building his spiritual life. Let us pray. Okay, we'll pray. Let's go to church. We'll go to church. Did you go to
right,
church on Sunday? Oh, I did. Did you go? I didn't really feel like it. I at that moment was trying to figure my own spiritual life out. And even I wasn't doing such a great job. I just was one that was more active in church.
right.
And there's a lot of us like that. You know, you're serving, you're on stage, your name is known in the church environment. You could even open your mouth and pray and people would fall.
Absolutely.
But the truth is you have that sin. Like Paul said, that which I don't want to do is what
It's
I
what I
do.
do.
You have that sin that you're still dealing with, or that thing that you're still adjusting. Mine was, there was lust. There was just, I was never really like, I was just hot and cold. I was hot and
You're
cold.
lukewarm.
I was lukewarm. I
And what
wasn't
does
hot.
what does the Bible say about people who are
Hey,
lukewarm?
Jesus, the Lord
This is our
spits them
spit you out, huh? But that's not what we're here to talk about today.
No, but it's
Yeah.
a big part of it. I was lukewarm, so I couldn't really like hold
Help
you
me,
accountable.
right.
And we never even really talked about it, right? But when that incident occurred, what you did
Yeah,
brought me to realization how important it was
right.
for God to actually be the one behind the steering wheel in our
Absolutely.
marriage, in our
And
relationship.
so let's talk about what was done, right? Or what I did.
What did
I
you
think
do?
the first step is again, realizing how selfish I was, which led me back to God.
Okay.
Because I knew that I couldn't do it on my own. That's step one. I realized that I was so far gone. I needed God. I needed Jesus to step into the situation. I also knew that you're very stubborn, right? Because at this point, you were already telling me about,
Oh yeah.
don't call me,
Don't talk to me. You're
don't
gonna talk
talk
to my
me,
lawyers.
you're gonna talk to my lawyer. So I knew that I was in deep trouble,
Yeah.
right?
Oh, by the way, our parents had gotten involved.
Oh yeah,
Yeah.
that's a whole different thing.
At this point, the parents.
But
were
I
aware.
knew I was in trouble, right? So I went to God.
Yeah.
That was the first time I could say I'm fully surrendering to God,
That was
right?
the first time I saw you cry.
Really, yeah, that too. Really, like true repentance had to take place, and I think I went through true repentance multiple times over and over again. And so that,
repentance.
I think you may have seen a little bit of that.
I definitely did. Okay, so first things first was the question was, are we gonna call off the wedding? That was one question in the air. Timing was horrible. Not that there's ever a good time for infidelity in marriage, but this was horrible. And so it was, we're already married. Are we gonna call this off? And then what are we gonna do next? I didn't trust him anymore. I was honestly, in my head, I was done. Somewhere in my heart, there was still hope, but in my head, I was done. So the next steps were, and he was still in school. By the way, we're still distant. We're still doing a long distance marriage at this time. So I'm having to really rely on God at this point, whether or not anything is salvageable. I wasn't even thinking salvageable. He was very repentant in his words, in his actions, in the way he communicated with me. Very repentant, very patient, very gentle with my heart in that season. Very gentle. He wasn't calling the shots, and he wasn't trying to. He took whatever I dished at him, and in a posture of, I deserve that. I deserve that.
And let's talk about that.
Yeah.
Too, right? Let me jump in on
go
that,
ahead.
because I see now a lot of men who have maybe gone through the same thing,
All
right?
women.
Or women whose spouses are now giving them a very difficult time, and the conversation is always, well, for how long?
Yeah, when are you gonna get over
Like,
it?
when are you gonna get over it?
You don't
I
to
get
tell me when
the
to get
question,
over it.
but the truth is, when you're the perpetrator of the deed that was done, you don't get to determine
No.
when she gets over it, right? I could honestly say, for us, even even though we went ahead and did the big wedding and all of that stuff, we had many moments,
Many.
right? I want to say the first maybe 7 years,
Yep. That's fair.
it was still a conversation. And I know people are like, wow, 7 years, we're still
Yes.
talking about the same thing. Not that the seven
Not
years was,
every day.
yeah, it wasn't horrific, but certain little things would
It will
happen.
trigger certain little things.
And
will
she gets triggered.
the memory, and it'll come up. And when it came up, a wall will come
A
up.
wall
to which
comes
I
up.
feel like I have to protect myself.
Mm,
Or my behavior would be that of I don't trust you.
yeah.
And so, and you also have to remember that when we started our relationship, he was dating somebody when he met me and started dating me at the same time. So there's compounding wounds building, to which there's grounds for me to say this guy is not worth trusting. However, what was different was who you started to become. I feel you immediately started to make changes. You immediately, I remember you gave your life to Christ straight up.
For real this
For
time?
real, publicly accepted Christ. And then you started attending the believers class.
Right.
On your own time, you started actually going to learn more about
Right.
God. And then as soon as you were done with that, you started serving. All these things you were not doing before.
Right.
You started serving by teaching the youth the
teenage ministry.
The teenage
yeah.
ministry.
Actually, it wasn't a ministry. We practically
You started a teenage ministry
started
because there wasn't
ministry.
one.
Yeah.
And you felt the need to pour into these kids. And you started that. And so I'm looking at you from afar and I see a guy I didn't even realize I always wanted. Like in my, you know, when a girl says, I want a godly man, I wanted this, I wanted that, I want a man who I can follow. We say those things, but do we recognize him when he comes
really
to
know
us?
when yeah,
know?
Can you see it?
And I thought I had found my husband the first year.
Right.
I thought I had found my husband the second year. But really, we were just playing couple. I don't think we're actually doing marriage. And I can only imagine how many other couples are doing that. Where you're just playing house, but you're not really doing marriage, kingdom marriage,
right?
The way it should be done with purpose and God at the center of the, driving the vehicle. And I looked at you, or I started looking at you, and I was seeing a different person.
And that was an answer to prayers, by the way. It was an answer to the prayer that I was really fervently praying for in that season, because I knew there was a lot of work to be done. But I also knew that I couldn't do it by myself. So I needed God to kind of reveal to you that, hey, the heart is yielding. So Father, hey, you're her dad too, right? I need you to show your daughter that this heart is really, truly changing. And so hearing you say that, that's a real thing.
I saw it. I saw it in the way you carried yourself. You were, again, fruits of the Spirit. You were very patient with me. You took whatever I dished. There was no pushback.
And you were horrible.
I wasn't nice, y'all. I was not nice. I was not nice. But he took it. He took it like a man. And he was like, I remember we talked about you dating me all over again.
Yes.
Proving to me that you were worthy of my heart.
Yes.
And you did. All over again. You started all over again, re-wooing me. Even though we were married.
Yeah.
We didn't care that we were counting years and people knew how long we were married. For us, we started again.
We're starting over, yeah.
We started afresh. There was forgiveness that we had to work on. There was, subsiding anger that we had to work on.
Lots of conversations.
There was hurt and pain, lots of conversations. Many late nights of just
sitting there, just
crying.
Just crying, yeah. Yeah, sitting there crying.
Yeah. And all this time we had kids come along. And we're having to navigate all of this.
Yeah.
But you grew and you kept growing and you kept getting better and you kept evolving. You kept becoming a better version of yourself. You dove into kingdom work. And I saw that. Your attitude towards other women and how you handled that.
Yeah.
I saw it. The transparency in our marriage. I saw that. I had the PIN number to your phone. You did a lot of things to help ease my pain.
And you mentioned something here, because that's another topic, hot topic rather. The guys who have, or women who have been through this, okay, how do I convince her? How do I I think the convincing is in the fruit, right? How are you now carrying
How you
yourself?
living?
How are you living, right? Are you still hiding your phone around the house? Are you still the type of person that you can't leave your home without having to run back and grab the phone in 5 minutes because you're too scared
Does your spouse know
for,
where you are?
does your
Like,
spouse know where
can
you
they
are?
say for a fact this is where you're going and you're gonna be back? Are you a
Exactly.
person of your word?
Yeah.
You
Those things
know,
those things really truly matter
things that
in
build
the
trust.
building trust part,
Yeah,
which took a while.
it took a while,
It took a
but
while. Yeah.
we did it. We built trust again, and we intentionally started to attend marriage conferences,
Conferences, yep.
any kind of marriage
Invest.
enrichment program. We were there, listening at the feet of people who were speaking life into marriage.
Absolutely.
Surrounded ourselves with people. I mean, I want to be honest. Not one of my friends who knew, the ones who knew, not one ever said leave him. Not one. There was not one.
Would it have mattered?
I've never really been one that listens to people, anyways. I do
Okay.
what I want to do. But it was important that the people that were around me also saw you. They saw you and they saw how you grew.
Mm,
And it was difficult for anybody to say, to walk away from that, right?
mm.
So that was important. I mean, that occurred. Of course, our parents both were like, y'all
Yeah.
can do this. You can
Yeah.
get past this. And they supported us. It's so funny because I don't think we've ever talked about it again with our parents.
Not with the parents.
They
Yeah, it
never
never
even
came up.
asked how we
Never came up.
resolved it.
Yeah.
They were there in the very beginning. And I don't even, it's, oh, wow, that is something that's interesting.
I remember talking to your mom, and this is probably the moment she. I mean, we've had many moments, right? But the one moment that she truly, totally impressed me was right in the heat of it.
Oh, I remember.
Um, she's talking to me, and I'm apologizing to her. Uh, and she looked at me and she gave me a hug, and she said to me, she said,
If it,
if my sons, if one of my sons did this, I wouldn't tell the wife to leave
she
or to
said,
walk
I
away.
mean, would I tell
Yeah, something to that
my
effect.
son's wife to walk away? Of course, I will fight. I will
Yeah,
want them to fight
to
for
fight
it.
for it. Yeah, and
And
that stuck with me.
yeah, because that's the kind of person my mama is.
Yeah, that's deep.
But I love that it never broke her relationship with you.
No, if
It
anything, it made us.
stronger.
Yeah,
Um, our families never changed the view
no,
of
not one
us.
bit.
They always stood by and supported our love and our marriage. And just getting to where we are now, we can look back and be like, thank God.
Thank God. It's
Just
all again
all glory
going
to
back
God.
to God's grace and mercy.
Absolutely.
Because again, this is our story, right? I don't want this to be, oh, everybody must follow the same path, right? This is our story of how God stepped in and
And
took over
reconciled.
and used something that the enemy meant for evil and actually turned it around for good in our lives. And
Yeah.
we've been beneficiaries of the things
Of the
that have
grace of
really
God.
happened after that, right?
Yes.
And I'm glad, I'm super, super happy that you didn't walk away.
I'm
I,
glad I
I
didn't
can't I
walk
can't
away.
imagine what my life would look like now
Woo! I can't
if
imagine
you
my
had
life
walked
without
away.
you. That
And
is so
and I
crazy.
wouldn't have blamed you for
We
walking
wouldn't have had
away.
our kids.
No, no. I mean, yeah, kids with someone else, but
They wouldn't look like our cutie
exactly.
patooties.
They wouldn't be called Jaden and Eden for sure, because the names probably would have changed. But I'm grateful
I'm
for your
grateful too.
patience, right?
I'm grateful for your
Rather,
patience.
your resilience is the word that I'm looking for. In being able to stick things through with me in those, yeah, it was rough. It was pretty rough.
It was. I'm grateful for your love because if you didn't love me the way you did, I did things to push you away. I did a lot of things
Many things.
to try to validate how I was acting. I did many things that hurt you, I'm sure, and you still loved me despite.
Mm.
And that I'm grateful for.
Whew.
I'm grateful.
This was a very heavy topic, and
Yes.
with that, we're gonna wrap this up and just say, listen, I know there's gonna be a lot of conversations happening. There's gonna be a lot of questions, the hows, the to dos. Please
Let's talk about it on Instagram instead. What y'all think
Yeah.
about that? If
Comment,
you have questions,
like-
let's talk about it on Instagram.
Comment, like, subscribe. Is
Yeah,
that how to
comment,
say it?
like, subscribe, follow, TikTok, Instagram, Spotify, Apple. What's the last one?
All of it.
Amazon Music.
All of it.
And of course on YouTube, okay?
Yes.
All right, so that's it for this week, and love you.
Love you all. See you later.